Wine in general gives you that moment to pause and be present, and that I think is so important.
This podcast is sponsored by Release Winery. Join us as the story of this ultra-limited wine continues. Learn more at releasewinery.com.
This is a real treat for me today. I'm in Dorado, which is far inland from where we've been all week, which is Napa Valley, about 2 hours east of Napa Valley. Very hilly, beautiful country. I'm here with Rob Sinton. Rob is the owner as well as winemaker here at Starfield Vineyards. Rob, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Ray?
I'm fantastic. Great drive here this morning. Thank you very much for having me in.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for making the trek.
No big deal. Fine drive, very easy. I mean, virtually freeway all the way.
It is. It's an easy drive. It's one thing that we have going for us in this region. It's quite diverse up here, I would say, and you travel through quite a lot of different elevation differences, like just a couple 100 feet lower. It's gray pines right up here where we are at 2,400 feet. It's ponderosa pines. You get a few gray pines here, some incense cedars and Douglas fir. But yeah, it's a really fun place to escape to from the city. So
yeah, I'll bet. Well, let's talk a little bit about you and how you got here. Where are you from originally? Are you from here?
I'm from Oakland. So yeah, I grew up in Piedmont and lived in Berkeley, went to community college in Oakland, and ended up at UC Davis, changed my major at my dad's request to viticulture and enology. And during that time, we bought the property here at Starfield. We started a small little brand, the St. Starfield, down in Napa, just custom crushing like 4 barrels of cab that we didn't own, and we just rented space. And so purchased this property because we thought, how are we going to make a mark in Napa? The politics are crazy down there. So we wanted a place that was a little bit more excited to have us, and both my dad and I are trained at UC Davis in vitinology, and he'd originally planted a property of like 100 acres in Paso, on the east side of Paso. So he was sitting there talking in my ear about how we should, go in on a project together. He'd made some money in tech, in payroll, and, I couldn't say no. So we began looking for properties, and it was quite a journey to decide on El Dorado, but we tasted all up and down the West Coast, in Paso, in Napa, Sonoma, Oregon, and Washington, and then all throughout the Rhone, Burgundy, and Bordeaux to kind of hone in on where we wanted to be. And both of us fell in love with the freshness and lightness and the excitement of El Dorado wine.
What was your original major, by the way?
I was in molecular cell biology.
Oh, of course you were.
Yes, right.
I saw that right away.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it was an interesting major, but I was very happy to
step away.
Yes, yeah, it was a little bit more. Vitinology is a little bit more socially exciting. So
I can't even imagine.
I felt like I was like a warrior on an island in my other major by myself. So
funny. That's great. Well, it's good you went that direction. So, in your dad's case, then, was this a hobby for him, being into wine or into vineyards?
It was more than a hobby, because he'd owned the Shell Creek Vineyard in Paso and planted that. And so for him, it was this lifestyle. He worked at the Monterey Winery. And so he had a lot of old connections. And then his grandfather, my great-grandfather, D. Sinton, was one of the people who pioneered the project of dehydrated wine bricks during Prohibition. So that he was going to dehydrate blocks of grapes during Prohibition and sell dry blocks of grapes that said, "Do not add water, may ferment."
I've heard of this somewhere.
It is. It's a story that's sort of like floated in the background of California winemaking history, and so that was one of my ancestors. He bought with a few other investors the Romo Winery south of Fresno, and which was the largest winery in California at the time. No longer exists, I don't think, but certainly not in that in that state. But yeah, he hired Louis Martini Sr. to be the winemaker, who was a renowned winemaker at the time. And Louis Martini, I think, famously said something along the lines of, "I can't make good wine out of this," which I don't really blame him. It's a lot of work to make wine.
Yeah, sure.
You got to be pretty invested in it to make something that's drinkable, and just adding water to a couple of dried grapes is probably not. It was clever, but maybe not fully baked. That was when he convinced my great-grandfather to sell his portion to him in Bank of America, and then Louis made Sacramento wine famously, and all throughout Prohibition.
Sure.
So that was that history that inspired my dad. I was mostly inspired by my dad to get into this whole project, and just, you know, it was goofy for me to hear a guy wear a suit and tie all my life growing up. That's who he was. And I would hear occasionally that he was a farmer at one point, and he'd come home and have a glass of wine, and then, you know, he'd fall asleep and talk about owning a winery or vineyard in British Columbia or something like that. And we didn't make it quite as far north as British Columbia, but we ended up here. And yeah, it's just been fun to get to know my dad in a different view than what I grew up with him as. I would definitely say that was like a major role in me getting into the business with my dad, was getting closer with him, working with him, being inextricably linked forever. You know, the people we love aren't around forever, and I just don't want to take any of that for granted. So
Is he still here?
He's still here. Yeah, he's down the hill.
So we were talking a minute ago. This is the Sierra Foothill AVA. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And which obviously the bigger mountains are off that way to the east, right?
To the east. You're pointing north.
Yes.
East is going to be like,
of course I am.
Actually behind you. I mean, one of the interesting things I think about this region in particular is, you know, the Gold Country history that basically allowed at one point. This was, I think, the third largest planting of wine grapes in California, second to LA County, I think, and Sonoma County. Wow. And that was just around the gold rush. Obviously, things happened, and then Prohibition happened, and all of that got ripped out. But yeah, we were top producing wine grape region in California for a long time, and you know, partly because the immigrants brought all of their grapevines up here. Sure. So it was super diverse. We're still that diverse for grapevines, and it's just a really fun place to. And there is a lot of history. I think El Dorado at one point was also even the third largest population county in California during that same time, second to Sacramento and San Francisco, which sort of absorbed a lot of those people.
Was the gold rush very active in this particular area?
Placerville was the largest town, I believe, at one point for gold rush activity. Wow. So yeah, at one point, I think this was all clear cut, which is kind of crazy. You know, I'm looking at it behind you, but it is. All of this was basically chopped down to make way for mining and building and highways and all that kind of thing. And so, yeah, it was there. If you hop into some stores downtown, they have a bunch of fun historic pictures where there's like no trees left, and but we've let them mostly regrow.
Good.
So.
Glad you did that. Find any gold lately, though?
Well, that was right. That's the whole thing, right? Better to sell shovels during the gold rush and or plant grapes, which is what a lot of people thought. So that is why we ended up with one of the largest plantings. I think the entire Motherlode area, that Placerville population center, was sort of considered the Motherlode area, but it spanned like Calaveras and all kinds of other places down to Amador. I think it was estimated that we altogether were producing about 25% of the state's wine grapes just locally here during that time.
That's a big number.
It's a big number. It's not just El Dorado County, but that's sort of the whole gold rush area.
Yeah. Interesting.
And now El Dorado produces 0.5% of all of the wine grapes in California. So
how things have changed.
Yes. They you know, Prohibition did, you know, just really erase a lot of that, but it's fun to kind of rediscover some of that and get into some of the different varieties that have they've got like little cult followings here and there up here, anyways.
You have a really nice tasting space, and again, all these trees, all this green, all these hills. I love this. I love driving here. Is this a tasting room people can just come into? Do they need to make an appointment?
It's drop-in. Walk-ins welcome. If you want a hosted tastings, reservations are recommended but not required. But yeah, 11 to 5, 7 days a week. We did close dirt for the storms. It did snow enough up here that we got, if you look, you can't quite see it from here, but on the other side of the mountain there is still snow.
Oh yeah, I saw that driving up.
Yeah, we're right at the snow line, right where we are here. Okay. So yeah, just 15 minutes up the road with it. Chain control starts right where you got off the freeway. So people can pop in. Most of the time we're open. Obviously on really terrible snowy days we don't open, and then some holidays we don't open. But
right. And for our listeners who like to learn about you online, what is your website?
It's www.starfieldvineyards.com.
Awesome. Rob, thank you again for inviting me up here. I'm really glad I came, and you're a lot of fun to talk to. Thank you.
Thank you. I had an amazing time as well, Ray.